Hi, I'm Mark Honeybone from Property Ventures, and welcome to our weekly podcast where we interview prominent members of the investment community along with other professionals in the New Zealand property market. This is a free service from Property Ventures so that you can keep current and learn from some of the best around New Zealand. To check us out, take a look at propertyventures.co.nz. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Hi, and welcome back to part 3 and the last part of our series where I talk to different mentors that teach you how to deal with property. The great thing I've enjoyed about this, and just the great thing about property investing, is there are so many ways to do it, so many theories, and each of those different ways there are so many success stories. So there, whether you just buy in Auckland and that's your strategy, that works very well for some people. Other people who have a mixture of Auckland and other areas, other larger cities, or even smaller town New Zealand. I know people in the top of the South Island, for example, who have only brought in the top of the South Island, and they have a very big portfolio with very low debt, getting very good returns. So we're going to talk today to Debbie Roberts from Property Apprentice, and you'll probably find that they teach things slightly different than Ron Weifong does and property tutors do. Debbie and her husband Paul are active investors, and they've built up their own property portfolio. Their main strategies are no money down deals, renovations and lease options, and they own a lot of their properties are in South Auckland, but they do go elsewhere and even as far away as Invercargill. So I'm looking forward to today's chat, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the next half hour or so. So welcome to the show, Debbie.
Thanks, Mark.
So, Debbie, many listeners haven't heard of you and your husband, Paul. So let's give us an overview, first of all, of who you are and what your husband, a Pom, and a Kiwi girl, is doing running a property mentoring program in New Zealand.
Okay, so just to clarify, Paul's actually, he's been living in New Zealand for nearly 25 years now. So I'm the reason that he came back. He came over here on a bit of an OE. And,
well, he's born a Pom, and we all know what happened in the rugby.
Yeah,
not that I'm now to
exactly.
mention that. So.
No, he's a fair weather rugby supporter anyway. He supports whichever team's winning. I probably shouldn't have said that.
All good.
But he's not here to defend himself, so it's all good.
Right.
Yeah, so we, Paul and myself, we started investing in 1999. So we've been investing for just over 15 years now. And, we got serious about our property investing about the time that I got pregnant with our daughter, who's now 10. And at the time, Paul and I were both pretty low income earners. So we couldn't afford for me to reduce my working hours. And that's one of the reasons that we got really stuck into property, because we saw property investing. Sorry. I just turned my phone on to mute. We saw property investing as literally the only solution for us to give us some freedom of how we spent our time. One of the biggest issues that we had was, as I mentioned, we couldn't afford for me to reduce my working hours or quit my job, and we didn't have any family that lived in Auckland. So I remember thinking one day, how are we going to do this once the baby's arrived? Paul was a sparky by trade. So he was working 60 or 70 hours a week, and my job at the time was travelling around New Zealand. So I was away from home 1 week out of every month, and I thought, there's no daycare that looks after children for 60 or 70 hours a week. So we got stuck into property, and it's given us some choices that we wouldn't have had otherwise. Yeah,
and that's the way many people start off, I think, with property. They're two working couples, and obviously that helps with the finance. You need to keep working, and you're working your butts off to get there, and you might not have a whole lot of money to start with, and so you guys have done really well, progressing forward from that stage to what you're doing, where you've got to now.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's an important point that you raise as well. With you need to have the provable income at the moment, because 10 years ago the lending situation was quite different. There were a lot of low doc loans and no doc loans, so literally if you had a pulse the banks would lend to you.
That's the one, it certainly did.
So we kind of, the way that the reason that we got into coaching was, we learned a lot of mistakes, we learned a lot of lessons the hard way by making mistakes. But it wasn't until we came across a good coach that we actually started to get some real successes with our investing.
No, great stuff. Well, that's great, Debbie. Thanks for that. We'll start off sort of what's been the topic of property lately, and that's the Auckland Market. So you and your staff and your clients are here 24/7 in the Auckland Market. What do you see happening in the upcoming future? There's a bit of people a bit nervous right now at the market. Is it a big glitch, or is it just something's happening, or has the market burst? Or what's your guys' sort of impression on that?
Yeah, I think we've reached a bit of a temporary glitch. So I think this does open up a lot of opportunities for investors in today's market. I certainly don't think it's the end of capital growth in Auckland. As I mentioned, I think it's a temporary glitch which has come about partly because of winter, but also the restrictions on property investors that now need the 30% deposit in Auckland. That's obviously going to have an impact on some people who won't be able to now invest in Auckland. Which has had the byproduct of capital growth outside of Auckland as people have started to see the opportunities there as well.
Yeah, it definitely has, and I definitely think it's just that unknown thing now. As you said, now that 30% rules come in, it's just that unknown factor, and people were a little bit scared at the moment, or just not scared, just unsure, I think.
Absolutely, and I mean it's about the same as when the Reserve Bank introduced the 20% deposit requirement. In fact, in a lot of ways, I think the market was impacted harder at that point than it has been this time. So yeah, I think it'll be business as usual without too much more delay.
Yeah, totally agree. In fact, there seems to be the common theme from people I talk to every day. Again, going back to about the elections when that happened last time, and I think they had a bigger effect on the market then than it's probably just doing right now.
Yeah,
totally agree.
Absolutely, and I think just to be devil's advocate here,
yeah,
wouldn't be the end of the world if the market did correct.
Yeah, no, that's right.
I mean, in a lot of ways, I can't wait. I can't wait for it to happen because it's been shown over and over that more property millionaires are created in a slump than they are in a boom.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think there's different opportunities in different stages of the cycle. So you need to be able to invest right throughout the cycle and take advantage of the different opportunities that are there.
Totally agree. And there's right now there's been some anyone has been able to make some money in the last couple of years, and some people probably haven't been through the whole cycle. So you get someone holding your hand through the amazing opportunities we've all seen last time round, and a hell of a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Also at the same time when the market does turn a little bit. But if the market keeps going fairly strong now, there's a wee glitch right now, there's a real good opportunity for people buying. So
I mean, even when you look at how many properties are getting passed in at auctions now, it wasn't that long ago that everything was selling.
Yeah,
and now
exactly.
about half of the auctions are getting passed in, and that's right across the board, inner city apartments, South Auckland, outside of Auckland, different story.
Yeah. No,
things are picking up there,
Yeah.
but there's definitely some opportunities for people to get in there and negotiate some good deals.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Good stuff, thanks for that. So, in the Auckland, speaking of the Auckland market, some of your clients must have done reasonably well in the last couple of years. Do you want to tell a couple, maybe stories about some of your or one of your clients, or what have you, that have done particularly well?
Sure. We've got clients that invest right across the country, so not just in Auckland. I think you mentioned earlier that Paul and myself have bought and sold property as far south as Invercargill. So, we see that it's an important part of growing a portfolio, that you've got to have a balance of both capital growth properties as well as cash flow.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things that we say to our clients is that nothing sucks the fun out of investing faster than to have a property that you bought for capital growth that's suddenly falling in value and you're still topping up the rent on it, So that's not too much fun.
No, that's not the fun side of investing.
Exactly. If you've got a portfolio that has that balance of capital growth and cash flow positive properties in it, though, across the board your portfolio pays you to own it each week, and that way that you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So we've got clients that are buying property right across Auckland and right across the country as well. One client springs to mind. I caught up with them just a couple of weeks ago. They have just settled, I believe, on a property in Mount Wellington, which has got subdivision potential.
Okay, nice.
So, it's negative cash flow at the moment, but by the time they've finished the subdivision and development on the back of it, it's going to be cash flow neutral based on the current rent appraisal. So, fingers crossed there'll be a few rent increases before that development's finished as well, and then they'll have a nice little start to their portfolio.
Yeah, great. In fact, we interviewed, Narissa and Jason a couple of months ago.
They're great.
And Narissa was one of your star students, I think, wasn't she?
That's right, yes. They've been so much fun to work with. And we haven't heard from them for quite a while, actually, because that's one of the things that we're noticing at the moment is that because we run a lifetime coaching program, there's no expiry date.
Yep.
And so often, we don't hear from our clients for months or years on end, and then all of a sudden they'll phone us up and tell us about all these properties that they've been buying.
Yeah, that's great.
So they've been great, and they're certainly an inspiration to a lot of people because they've achieved so much at such a nice young age.
Nice young age,
absolutely.
Yeah, if only.
I know.
So, yeah, and that's that is good. And one of the things about them, they probably a bit like yourselves, they started with not a lot of starting income, I suppose, to or equity to get going. Then you have to start somewhere, and they've done particularly well and pretty sold in one of the spectacular properties. It's not like a normal property, in fact, but it's helped them out to get that cash flow.
Absolutely.
To get ahead with their other properties, I think. So
absolutely, and I know that they've definitely leveraged their time by using the services of yourself as well as a property finder and buyer's agent. And that's something that we're firm believers in. Because not everyone's got the time to get out there and negotiate the deals themselves. It's not easy to find good investment properties.
Exactly. Funny, I'm sure about 20 years ago, I reckon this computer world was meant to make things easier for us, but I'm sure we're all busier now than we've ever been.
To be. Someone said to me the other day, what did we used to do before we had mobile phones? And I said we used to have some downtime.
Yeah, exactly.
But, it's all part of the game.
Yeah, it is. Great opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, being able to use the services of buyers, agents and property finders, as long as you still know what you're looking for, it's a great way to leverage your time. Because time seems to be the thing that everyone doesn't have enough of at the moment. It's probably the biggest hurdle that we see with clients at the moment. When we talk about issues that they're facing or problems, things that just have a discussion with groups about what are your biggest challenges at the moment. 9 times out of 10 they say we don't have time. So it's definitely a service that's needed.
Certainly a common theme what I hear. So mentoring, people have different views on this. I know some people think, you don't need mentoring, just go and do it yourself. I've seen what happens to quite a few of them. Why do you think it's an important role for an investor? And I suppose at 2 levels, whether you're brand new or whether you're used to invest and you're coming back into it, I suppose you get those sort of clients too.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think with new investors, it's a case of you don't know what you don't know until either someone tells you or you learn the lesson the hard way. So that's one of the reasons that we start our coaching program with 10 weeks of theory. So once a week for 10 weeks, we get people together in a classroom setting in the evening and teach them all the fundamentals of property investing. And then after that, it's ongoing support for as long as they want. Monthly catch-up meetings as well. So network meetings where we get guest speakers in. You've been to a couple of them.
Yeah, they become a big part of the carry on, keeping current.
Absolutely.
Because things change. I mean, this Auckland Market last year and a half it has changed every 2 or 3 weeks. So
exactly. Yeah, especially in the last few months as well, we've seen a massive change. So I think for new investors, it's about learning what you don't know that you don't know, and for more experienced investors, it's a case of building a network of like-minded people and people that you can bounce ideas off. Paul and myself, we still talk to our original coach who now works for us, which is great. So Michael's been a wealth of knowledge and inspiration for us as well. And sometimes you get to a point where you get so busy doing what you're doing that you get a bit too close to your own portfolio. So you kind of need a bit of external help and support to be able to give you a bit of direction as to what might be the next best step for you.
Okay.
And Paul and I did that with Michael ourselves about a month ago. We sat down and we said, okay, we gave ourselves a strategy meeting and we've come up with these different options. We want to bounce them off you to see which one you think's best. So it's just having someone that doesn't have a vested financial interest in your portfolio that can often see a bit clearer as to what's the obvious choice for you.
Yeah,
so.
And that's such an important thing. Everyone, wherever you go, but particularly in the property, have their own, I won't say hidden agenda, but their own agenda for why they're doing whatever they are. And sometimes your investors have to be, I suppose, careful of that. And the great thing about networking in this sort of environment for the newer people is, they can talk to other people who are at their stage at all different stages. There's always someone around to answer or help with a question who have been there before and done that.
Absolutely.
Rather than at home talking to the neighbour across the fence that's
and they never have bought a property in their life.
Or had that one bad story, and probably because they paid too much for a property.
Exactly.
And
exactly. Hindsight's always got 20/20 vision. But I think that's something that we feel really strongly about. We decided that we wanted to help as many people as we could.
Yeah.
So that's why we teach the fundamentals of investing and have that ongoing network and support for more experienced investors as well.
Great. Okay. So if you come to the mentoring program, they come here for 10 weeks, there's all the theory and what have you, and questions, and I guess a few speakers and what have you during that time.
That's right. Yeah.
And so after you say a lifetime support, I mean, a lot of people, mentoring groups don't do that, I guess, for the fact that it's a hell of a burden, I guess. How do you cope with that? And I suppose, as you said, if there's a lot of people, they go away and they get confident eventually and they work on their own. I mean,
absolutely. So we work on the theory that we want to teach people in the shortest time frame possible how to think like professional investors. So that's why we do the once a week for 10 weeks rather than monthly meetings, for example, just because most people want to know what they don't know now.
Yeah.
Generation, what's the latest generation? Generation X. So them especially,
Yeah.
We were a bit slower on the uptake, I guess. We went through, our coaching program was monthly meetings.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until we hit the 12th month when we had all of the pieces of the puzzle, and that was when the coaching program expired as well.
Yeah. Right.
So when Paul and I set up Property Apprentice, we decided that we didn't want to have an expiry date on it because, people learn at different paces.
Yeah.
And if someone's strategy is to buy one property every 3 or 4 years, then, how much knowledge and experience are they going to get in that first 12 months, for example? So, we teach people how to do it and how to think like professional investors so that they don't need that ongoing support from us if they don't want it. And like I said, we've had clients coming back to us recently who we haven't heard from for 3 or 4 years now. And they say, okay, so this is what we've been doing. And we're like, wow, you're kidding. Had no idea, haven't spoken to you for a while. And they're like, but we just want to know whether we're still on the right track or whether we need to adjust things. So.
Yeah. So they can come back and have another meeting with you or one of your...
Absolutely. We don't put a limit on how much time our clients spend with us. So we've got a team of coaches based in Auckland, and we've all invested around the country as well. So, we don't put a limit on it. You don't get assigned to one person. You get access to all of us as coaches.
Yep.
People tend to gravitate towards one coach. It's usually the one that they see most often, but they've still got access to all of us. And across our team of coaches, we've got experience in all of the different strategies and property investing and trading as well. So we teach the whole shebang.
The whole shebang.
Yeah, warts and all. Warts and all.
That's what you need, warts and all.
Absolutely. We try not to burst people's bubbles, so to speak, but in the same breath, we don't give them unrealistic expectations either. So one of the first things we say to them is anyone can buy a property, but it takes a different level of skill to buy a good investment.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, good. And I agree with what you said about the time in your mentoring program between a week and a month, and I'm sure I went through exactly the same mentoring program that you did.
Yeah.
I've known Debbie and Paul for many, many years.
That's right.
They're good friends of mine, and a month was, for 10 months it takes to learn the same you can in 10 weeks, and as you said, you want to get on and do it, and if you're going at that slow level, I guess it's a wee bit harder. So
yeah, most of our clients start taking action at about week 3. So by the time they hit the 3-week mark, we've taught them all about the sale and purchase agreement. We've taught them how to find and analyse deals, and most of the time we've had a strategy meeting with them as well, which is where we sit down with them one-on-one and work out what their starting position is, what their goals are, what they want to achieve out of property investing.
So what week's that at?
Usually around week 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So it depends on how quickly people get their act together.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
we've had some clients who've had their one-on-one meeting with us before the coaching's even started. Before their coaching group started.
Okay.
So, and we've had a couple of clients who've actually come along to week 1 with a property already under contract.
Okay.
Because they just hit the ground running.
Yeah, nice.
So, we encourage that. And I'd say probably 80% of our clients buy a property within the first 12 months of coaching. You've got to remember some of our clients actually can't get lending to start with. So, they've got to use some no money down strategies and different things like that. But about 80% buy a property within the first 12 months. Right. And our goal is to make sure that our clients get at least the course fee back in their first deal, if not more.
Okay.
And it's a pay once, get coached forever. So
that's great, isn't it? Hey, I like it.
Well, we like it.
You can't beat that.
No, well, at the end of the day, we do this because we enjoy it.
Yeah.
And the fact that everyone is in a different position keeps it fun for us as well. Yeah. Because property investing is not a cookie cutter approach. It's not one size fits all.
Yeah.
So just about every single person that we see has got different goals, different starting position, different level of risk that they feel comfortable with.
Yep.
I mean, for example, if Paul and I, when we started investing, if we'd bought a couple of negative cash flow properties for capital growth, if we'd bought 2 properties like that in central Auckland, we probably wouldn't have been able to buy a 3rd property. We would have hit the wall with our lending.
Mm.
And people are like that today as well. We've got clients coming in that have got access to lending capacity of 300,000.
Mm.
Well, you can't buy much in Auckland for 300,000. Certainly not much in Central.
Yeah.
So
I suppose it wasn't that dissimilar the market last time round for you as it is now, as we talking in October 2015 sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that we really enjoy now is that we've had a number of clients who've done exceptionally well with their investing, and so we're able to sort of handpick the clients that have done really well, got themselves into that top 2% of investors in the country, and that have also got the right personality to be able to help others.
Yeah.
So that's how we've built our team of coaches. Everyone in our coaching team has actually been through our program, except for Michael.
Nice. Yeah. What you guys
Michael taught us, so we knew he didn't need to go through the coaching. But it means that we've got a close-knit team that works well together.
Yeah.
And we all enjoy helping people get the results that they want.
Yep. You made it fun. It's a very serious game, and you've mentioned that. I know you take it very seriously, but if anyone comes to one of the monthly meetings and you're speaking, you're in for a good time.
What, because I have a glass of wine in my hand?
All good.
Yeah, no, we do have fun. The monthly network meetings are a lot more laid back than the actual training sessions, because it is for that ongoing support and continued education. You never reach a point where you know everything there is to know about investing, do you?
Absolutely. We're all learning every day still.
Mm.
So you sort of mentioned in passing, but why cash flow and why capital gains? Why are those two things so important with investing? Okay,
so the reason that you need to have that balance of both capital growth and cash flow in your portfolio is because that's what the bank needs. The bank needs they need to see how much equity you've got, and they also need to know what your debt servicing position is. So you need to have that provable income. If you're low income to start with, you'll need to be looking at higher yield properties, because otherwise you'll hit the wall with your lending too soon based on your debt servicing.
Yeah,
and if you're only buying high cash flow properties with no equity and no capital growth, then you'll hit the wall with your lending on the equity side of things. So that's why it's important to have that balance in your portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
Unless you only want to own 2. then fill
that's
your
right.
boots.
Yeah, yeah. You get clients like that?
Yeah, we do.
All they want to do is buy one or two and do it well.
We do.
Yeah.
We've got a huge range of clients. We have young, early 20s or late teens that have joined the coaching program. And they've decided that, they couldn't see a way that they'd be able to buy their own home, so they've decided to get their foot on the property ladder as soon as possible by buying low-value rentals outside and paying those off, rather than paying off a personal mortgage.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, with ones like that, if you're going to eventually be mortgage-free, it doesn't matter if there's no capital growth.
No, that's right, definitely.
To a certain extent. Then you can leverage off that equity to buy a higher capital growth one further down the track.
Yep. Oh, great. Okay, just sort of personal view, you've seen a lot in the last 10 years where you've been investing and seen the highs and lows of the markets, what it can do. You sort of ask GFC. So what's your number one thing that you've learned over that time with investing? What's one of your main things you could point out and say, well, that's what I learned or might do next time?
I think this is the stage in the property cycle that most new investors make the biggest mistakes. Nice, and the reason that they make mistakes is because they think that, they need to get on the property ladder or they're going to miss out. So what we're saying to our clients now is, if you can't find anything that meets your particular requirements, it's not the end of the world unless you've got a 2-year plan.
Yeah.
But most of our clients have at least got a 10-year plan. Some of them have got 5 years to retirement, so their plan's a bit different. Yeah. But if you've got a bit more time up your sleeve, then you have got time to sit back and cherry pick the really good deals, which are going to get you the result that you want in the time frame that you've got. So I think that making the mistakes at this stage in the cycle can take over a decade to recover from financially. And, in a lot of ways, the slump is a lot more forgiving of mistakes. So at this stage in the cycle, you really need to be strengthening your position financially so that you can take advantage of the deals that are going to come up when the market does turn.
Yeah.
Because capital growth doesn't go on forever.
No, great advice. Someone told me that about 12 years ago.
I know. And look, to be fair, it's one of the lessons that we learned the hard way. We were trading property in the peak of the last boom, and we got a bit greedy. So we ended up, we'd gone unconditional on 3 trades at the same time, just before the market turned. Yep. And none of them worked as buy and holds. Yeah. So the fact that they were all quite strongly negative cash flow and interest rates were 10-point-ugly%.
Yeah, they were.
So, that had a massive effect on our lending ability. We couldn't get lending for quite a period of time, which is one of the reasons that we learned about lease options. It was a strategy that we didn't need to have lending for, so nice. That was quite good.
Very good. You've all had our learning lessons. We all, I think, me and you guys both, we look out a bit extra than some people for our clients. We've both had personal experiences ourselves like that. They haven't gone quite as well, so which is all good.
Well, I think to be blunt, I've yet to meet an investor that's never made a mistake. I think most investors do. But if you make a mistake with education behind you, it minimises it. So it's not going to be financially devastating. Yeah. Whereas if you make a mistake and you don't realise that you've made a mistake until it's too late, those are the ones that put people off investing for life. Yeah.
About the horror stories you hear from the neighbour next door hanging out the washing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. So what's a mix, just for a sort of come up with my question I always ask about helping new investors out. What other points or things you might want to share with the listeners today that sort of about how you're feeling about the current market or anything you'll be looking at?
Okay, so one of the things that I think is important to point out is that it'll depend on whether you're looking at buying a home or an investment property, because 2 totally different ball games. Yep. We've got some clients who are looking at buying a home, and so obviously, most of our clients live in Auckland. So we've been saying to them, if you're looking at buying a home, it's not going to get any cheaper than it is today, because I can't see capital growth I can see it potentially slowing down, but I can't see it heading south for quite some time yet. We've just got too much of a shortage of property. Even if you look at the number of building consents that have been issued in the last 12 months, that's only keeping pace with the net migration. That it's not even starting to put a dent in the shortage that we had to start with.
Yeah.
So I think capital growth will be here for a while yet, which is why I don't think it's going to get any cheaper than it is now. And I think heading into the slump, I'll be surprised if property falls back to below where we're at today.
Yeah.
Like if capital growth continues for the next couple of years, and my crystal ball stopped working, unfortunately. But so we're guessing at how much longer it's going to go for. But there's a number of factors that we can keep our eye on, and at the moment, the fundamentals are all still there for continued capital growth for a bit longer.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So
just help one of your clients out and win their own house, which is very unusual for me, not being an investment property, but helped her out an auction, and it was a lot of fun for me. It's more stressful for them, but
I know options are.
But it was good, and as you said, no matter what happens with the market, I think, especially the normal standalone family homes, they aren't going to be going south.
No,
I totally agree.
Exactly. So if you're looking at buying a home, the sooner you buy it, the better. Just make sure that you're not buying something for more than it's currently worth. My advice would be to look for something that you could actually add value to, because that'll help give you a bit of extra buffer as well if the market does take us all by surprise and come into the downturn sooner than expected.
Yeah.
If you're looking at buying an investment property, the answer to that is it depends.
It does, yeah.
It depends on what your starting position is. It depends on how much surplus income you've got. It depends on what level of risk you feel comfortable with. We've got some clients who are into development. We've got other clients who feel really strongly about the fact that they don't want to top anything up. They want to make sure that anything that they buy at this stage is going to at least cover their costs, because they don't have that job security that people used to have 30 years ago. You can't.
That is something that's changed, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So how I mentioned before that nothing sucks the fun out of investing faster than having to top up rentals if the values are falling.
Yeah.
Imagine that if you lose your job as well. That really sucks the fun out of it. So I think it's getting that balance and as I mentioned before, strengthening your position to take advantage of the really good deals when they do come back.
Yeah.
Because they'll come back.
Yep, no, definitely will.
Still some out there.
Yeah. Well, there are. We're certainly right now, as I said, with the auctions aren't all going quite to where they are, and if this quiet period sticks around for more than a couple of months, maybe 4 or 5 months or whatever it might be, is hopefully within that time very quickly some of the vendors will realise and become a bit more reticent with the price of their property. Then that equals opportunity to buy well-priced property now.
Absolutely.
Before the market may keep continuing for the next sort of year and a half or so.
Exactly. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if the market does stay relatively muted until sort of mid-January.
Yep.
Or even potentially a little bit later than that.
Yep.
But Christmas is coming. So that's always a good time to get out there and get some good deals, because everyone else, especially if the weather's nice. Remember,
that's right.
When was it? A couple of years ago that the weather was really rubbish over the Christmas holiday period.
Yeah.
There were some great deals purchased then. And so, everyone else was at the beach.
Yeah, that's what happens. Everyone, the non-investors will go on holiday and stuff, and then and some of the investors do, but then there's the hungry ones, and they get some great bargains.
Yeah, exactly.
We went to Coromandel 2 Christmases ago, and to my wife's despair, I did 2 property deals on Boxing Day and the 27th of December, but they were out there actually doing it, and so why wouldn't I help them out? So.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's always people that need to sell, but there's not always buyers in the market, so it's an opportunity.
Absolutely. I believe you're playing around with some stats this morning. Do you want to share them or not?
I was, because I'm just getting ready to do a market update for our clients on Thursday night at our monthly meeting. And so one of the things that I looked up was capital growth suburbs across New Zealand.
Yep.
And 18 out of the top 20 capital growth suburbs are in Auckland.
Don't tell me they're in Auckland. Gosh,
surprise. Yeah, no great shocker there. But something that I did think was quite interesting was that the 2 suburbs that weren't in Auckland and in the top 20, one of them was Welcome Bay in the Bay of Plenty, and the other one was Cambridge. So of the 18 that were in Auckland, 10 of them were in South Auckland.
Okay. Wow.
So the largest capital growth at the moment is in South Auckland. 3 suburbs were West Auckland, 3 were on the North Shore, and 2 of them were in Central Auckland.
Okay.
So yeah, there's still quite a lot of areas, that are getting good capital growth outside of Auckland. There's some opportunities coming up now that are above the 10% mark too.
Yep.
And you can still get cash flow there as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's certainly opportunity, and this I didn't think it would. A couple of years ago, this cycle was just going remarkably similar to previous cycles. To be
exactly.
fair,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's eerily familiar.
Yeah, it is. It's really familiar, which in good stead for. We all know what's going to come up in a few years' time, but also take advantage of what's there now. You don't always get a wee blip in the market when it's still rising. So I mean, people took advantage of it 2 years ago, almost the same time.
Absolutely.
So here's a chance now again. So.
Yeah. So I think the other thing that I wanted to mention was the difference between trading and buy and hold, because I mentioned that Paul and I have done some trades as well as buy and hold.
Yep.
So yeah, trading's not for everyone. It's a great way that you can replace income, but you still need to be able to have the provable income to get the lending to do the trading to start with. Unless you've got a massive revolving credit, you can just fund yourself. There are some non-bank lenders coming back into the market now, which is going to help on that front. But yeah, when it comes to long-term wealth creation, it's buy and hold that wins hands down. Buy a property once and it pays you forever. So as opposed to buy a property, sell it once, and get paid once. Serves its, it absolutely serves its purpose.
Oh, it does, yeah.
But for long-term wealth creation, can't go past the long-term buy and hold, in my opinion, anyway. Yeah,
no, totally agree, and I'm pleased you've said that. And your trading is very, very true. It's not for everyone. It was a livelihood for a few years, and so that's a great thing again about the property. Right back to the intro of this podcast, I said everyone's got so many different ideas on what it is and how to do it. There's so many ways, and there's no right or wrong. Well, there are wrong ways, but there's no necessary right or wrong strategy depending on the individual. So and as you said before, it's hard to say what's the best way to do something because you don't know until you sit down in front of someone and hear what they're trying to achieve, what they've got, and what they've got income-wise, and going from there.
Exactly, and I've heard you talk about it before as well. If you spoke to a few different investors about the same thing, they'd have 3 different opinions probably.
Yeah.
Because everyone comes from their own personal perspective. So I think Paul and I, just speaking from us personally, we started with low income.
Yeah.
So cash flow's always been an important part of our strategy. As our investments have grown, our strategies have changed with that as well. We've also, we've worked with a huge range of clients, which keeps the coaching side of things fun for us. Because, some people, man, they start in a far stronger position than we were in.
Yeah.
So the strategies that they're able to use would have just stopped us in our tracks. So it keeps us on our toes and keeps the coaching fun for us.
Yeah, nice. Good. So, Debbie, there's a few new listeners out there. What would be one or your best bit of advice you'd give to someone starting out and wanting to get going, and maybe they just, for whatever reason, they just haven't got going, as some people don't? What would be your bit of advice?
My bit of advice to you would be absolutely get some help and support from people who are a bit further down the track than you are, because you'll learn from their mistakes rather than you having to reinvent those wheels. Having that second opinion to bounce things off, someone to use as a sounding board who's got the experience to help you, that can be worth its weight in gold. I'd also say the sooner you start, the sooner you'll start getting results.
Yeah.
I've lost count of how many people have said to us, I wish we'd started. I wish we'd started 10 years ago. Or people that have said to us, oh, yeah, but it was okay for you. You know, it was easier back then.
Yeah.
And I mean, we say to people all the time now, you know, the sooner you start, the sooner people will start telling you that you're lucky, because it was different then.
Exactly. I remember 10 years ago we all thought that, and some people said that, but there's a lot of people who have made an obscene amount of money from then to now, and it'll be the same in 10 years' time. I'll bet you bottom dollar.
Oh, exactly. You know,
but you can't. I mean, think about life. You can't change what's happened. So all you can change from what's from this point forward. And everyone's got the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I think often the biggest obstacle for new investors is their own belief in what they can do, you know, and that fear that holds people back.
Yeah.
So that's something that we try and offer the support with as well. Is, you know, like, we can help to make sure that you're not walking away from deals just because you're scared, because you haven't done it before. Do
you talk a bit about mindset on the through the mentoring sort of program?
Yeah, we do. It's funny. We have a session on mindset, and it's one that people either love or they hate. And the ones that hate it often come back to us a couple of years later and go, now I get it.
Nice.
And I was the same, I've got to say. You know, when I started working on my mindset, I always thought that I had quite an optimistic personality. But there's always something that you can do to improve, and
definitely.
And it makes a huge difference in your success.
Yeah, good work. Okay, Debbie, hey, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For the time, and I'm sure everyone's got a lot out of it. If anyone wants to contact you, where do they go to do that? If
you live in Auckland and you want to, or driving distance from Auckland, and you want to come to one of our free events, the easiest way to register for one of those is to text the word ticket to 244, or you can register online at our website, which is www.propertyapprentice.co.nz. If you live outside of Auckland, we've got something in the wings for you as well.
Wow, so watch this space, eh? Watch this space.
Watch this space. We have got some cool and exciting plans for next year. So if you can still text ticket to 244, and we can give you a call and talk you through those different options as well.
Great. Well, if you get ticket at 244, you can give us a call at Property Ventures, and I'm sure we can send you onto them. Very good. Hey, thanks again, and been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that chat with Debbie from Property Apprentice. It's been an interesting 3 weeks talking to 3 totally different types of mentoring, and I'm sure all of them suit different people at different levels. And as I said at the start of the podcast, the great thing about property is there are so many ways to do property, and there is no real right or wrong way, as long as you follow the principles that everyone should be going. So with the mentoring, you find someone that you can relate to and trust, and of course always be prepared to take action. So that wraps that series up. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll be back very soon. And remember, if you want to talk to any of us, or have an appointment with any of us, or have a place to sell, or hit your requirements, what you want to change, give us a call at the Auckland office, or email us at info@propertyventures.co.nz. We'll see you soon.